back with our guest, Mark Schaefer. We're going to talk longer about some of the ideas and things that came out of his book. So, Mark, in the main show, we were talking about Klout scores, and you were talking about new ways companies are using it. But you said something interesting, that individuals also can improve and better use Klout. How can individuals use Klout and get more out of it?
Well, in the book, I actually talk about several examples in a scientific of increasing your Klout score, and I follow a scientist and a technologist who uses my ideas in the book to increase his Klout score, and he increased it by 30 points in 45 days. Wow. And so, number one, to surround yourself with an audience that cares about you and is willing to share your content. There's a lot of research, Jeff, that shows that typically people on Twitter are resistant to sharing content. So to find people who care about you and your content is kind of a key idea. The other thing is, as we talked about in the first part of the program, is this idea of content being power. And what my friend found out was he really couldn't share enough content, good content that was getting shared, that people were willing to share. So he decided to start his own blog. And once he started his own blog and started creating original content, then people started sharing. And then the third piece is to engage. Just because you have a big work and just because you create content, that is not going to increase your influence. You've got to actually engage with people. You've got to have conversations that are going to influence them. So that is one of the things that Klout scores and recognizes. Now, here's the irony. As a marketing consultant, if I were to tell someone how to be successful on the social web, I would say, build an audience, a targeted audience, create great content, and engage. So the exact same strategy that would help enable success for anybody will also help your Klout score, and it certainly helped him. And here's the funny thing: when the thing was over, I asked him, "Well, now you've increased your Klout score," and I said, "Are you more influential?" And he said, "Yes." It's kind of funny, but I am. Because now I've met all these great people who like me and care about me and share my content. And even if I wasn't trying to gain clout, I'd still be connected to these people. And because I wanted to be more influential, I created a blog. I'm creating my own content. So the irony is, he was trying to game the system, but in the process, he became more influential.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I do the same thing, and I've been out there and hosting a TV show and everything, and it's amazing. When you produce content, like video content, and interview people, and you're just out there, I call it, it's rock star syndrome, right? If you're a rock star, you know X number of people, but 100X know you. And that's something that I found happens a lot. Like, I tell a story. I once went up to HubSpot. I was a guest on HubSpot TV, and I'm sitting down with Mike Volpe, the CMO of HubSpot. And he says to me, "Jeff, somebody here wants to meet you." And this girl comes in and gives me a big hug, and I've never seen her in my life. It turns out she's read my blog. She's followed me for ages. She knows everything about me.
That's a nice problem to have, Jeff.
But I think that's kind of the idea of influence, whether it's Klout score or anything else, is just be out there and talk to people. And the one thing that I got to tell you, it's a business strategy that I did a long time, is an idea of always be helping. Is look to promote other, because if you want people to be in your fan club, help them. That's my takeaway. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really fundamental, and I think that's a key part of the content too. It has to solve a problem or meet some unmet or underserved need, or be entertaining. So that's going to be an interesting challenge. as the information density on the social web continues to just escalate, what is it going to take to cut through the clutter? What is it going to take to move that content through the system and be influential? It's going to be more and more difficult. And as my friend found out as he did this experiment, it's easy to get your Klout up another 10 points or another 15 points. But then it gets increasingly difficult because you've got to really have a very engaged network. You've got to create very good content that moves not just your network, but beyond your network. And so that's difficult. And in a way, I think that's one of the interesting things that you can learn about Klout is it's really sensitive to that. And they've got problems and they've made mistakes, but they've got a lot of funding now. They've got a bunch of PhD scientists working on this program, and so I think getting closer and closer to something that's going to be accurate and useful.
You know, one other topic I think I want to talk to you about, Mark, is blogging. Because I know you write a very, very popular blog. My blog is quite hot too, and I've invested a lot in it too recently. It looks absolutely gorgeous, fearlesscompetitor.com. And what is your take on the importance of blogging in marketing today? There's been people who are saying that blogging is declining in popularity. Yeah. And what do you think?
Well, I think I'm a marketing guy first and foremost. I mean, I'm a marketing strategy person who just happens to like social media and write about it. But to me, everything has to start with strategy. So maybe a blog fits for you and maybe it doesn't. I think there are many, many tangible business benefits of blogging, even if nobody reads the thing. Search engine optimization, for example. There's lots of different ways you can use blogs and repurpose the content of blogs. So blogging, for many reasons other than just ROI, can have a lot of tangible business benefits. But I never am prescriptive when I work with businesses. I mean, I never presume to know more about than they do about their business and their customers and their markets. And what I emphasize, Jeff, is that you've got to keep a cool head about this because there's a lot of hype around social media. There's a lot of fear that people are afraid they're going to be left behind. And you have to start with strategy. You have to think about what is our core competency? How are we different? How do we sell? What do we sell? What do our customers need? Which, by the way, can be different than what you sell. Don't confuse the two. Who are our competitors? What are their strategies? What are their prices? What are their channels? All the classic questions, all the classic research you have to think about. Then you consider, should we have a blog? Because if you do that upfront work, your strategy will kind of reveal itself if you can answer those questions. And you'll know, here's our message. Here are our customers. This is where they go to get their information. This is what they love about us. This is what we need to reinforce. These are the channels. If you do that upfront research, then you'll know whether a blog, how effective it's going to be, how important it's going to be as part of your overall strategy. I mean, I think for many businesses, they can realize a lot of benefits. As far as the research that's been out lately, I know exactly what you're talking about the declining blogs. I actually wrote a blog post about that. And if you look at the research that came out from the University of Massachusetts and read it all the way to the end, they basically say things that are wrong. There's some data that and the biggest thing about the Inc. 500, where the data came from, is the names of the companies, the actual companies on that list, change so much from year to year that you're not comparing apples to apples. So then there's some other problems with the data, but you could look at it and say that blogging has stayed the same or maybe even increased. So I think the researchers were a little bit, let's say it was a stretch, some of the claims that they made, and I think they were inconsistent in their own report, and I pointed that out on my blog.
Wow. Yeah, sometimes you got to be careful how people analyze data. But I think you make a very good point, Mark, that it's really about understanding the basics of the business. You know, what problems does your company solve for your customers? You know,
Absolutely.
who are your competitors? You know, understanding all those things before they do anything. Mark, you've been a great guest on the show. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. And
thanks, Jeff. It's been a delight.